Oh, this is gonna be crazy. That was great. Alright, hello everyone, and welcome today to another episode of Spraynpray1000's Verdict, a video review series starring me, Spraynpray1000, a playthrough on YouTube as I review brand new games soon after their release and basically give my opinion on it. And today we're going to talk about the latest entry in a long line of real-time strategy games made by Blizzard Entertainment, and I'm basically saying that gives it away. Today we are going to review Starcraft 2, Heart of the Swarm, and to a limited extent Starcraft 2 Wings of Liberty. And I'm going to give my opinions on these games. Basically, I just finished playing Heart of the Swarm, as you know, you've seen on my channel. Today is March 24th. I finished 2 days, well, actually, was it 2 days ago? No, I finished about a day ago. I finished the full campaign. And basically, let me just explain how this is going to work, okay? So, I'd rather not give my complete review on StarCraft 2 as a whole until the finale of the game comes out. The last campaign, Legacy of the Void, comes out and is released, which might take 2 or so years because this game is supposed to have a longer lifespan than most games. So for right now, I'm not going to review the multiplayer. I'm not going to review, I can't review Legacy of the Void. I don't even know why I just ran that thought process in my head. But what I will do is I will review Heart of the Swarm primarily, and I'm just going to, you know, use Wings of Liberty as a backdrop to bounce it off against. So let's talk about what StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm is. StarCraft 2, when it first came out, was unlike most other Blizzard real-time strategy games like Warcraft, Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos and Frozen Throne, and StarCraft 1 and StarCraft Brood War. Unlike all those other games, which basically had campaigns for each of the individual factions in the game, they all had their own separate campaign. What they decided to do for StarCraft 2 is they decided that they would rather have you play a bigger campaign for one race for each expansion pack. So, for example, when StarCraft 2 came out, the base game itself is StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, which focuses on the Terran or the human campaign, and you know what happens in that. And now here we are 2 years later. In the March 2013, we have Heart of the Swarm. It's just brand new. It's still piping hot. And this time, the emphasis on the campaign has shifted to the Zerg, okay? And if you don't know who the Zerg are, you don't know who the Protoss are, it's all within the story. So, you know, you could kind of look that up. The Zerg are like insectoid races that, you know, trying to infect and assimilate different races into their own part of the swarm. And the Protoss, you know, they're like, you know, your standard aliens that want to purge everything of... They want to purge everything until it's nothing but glass. So that creates an interesting diversity among the 3 different races of StarCraft. So what happens is this. Obviously, Heart of the Swarm takes place in the aftermath of Wings of Liberty. Okay, and obviously I'm gonna spoil some of the events of Wings of Liberty for you in order to you know, walk you into Heart of the Swarm. Heart of the Swarm focuses on Sarah Kerrigan, the former Queen of Blades after the events of Wings of Liberty, now stripped of most of her Zerg powers. The Zerg swarm is now basically fallen into disarray because there's no main leader and all the main Zerg factions are splintering off. And Sarah Kerrigan is being held by Valerian Minx, who is your ally from Wings of Liberty, and, you know, visited by Jim Raynor on a remote planet where she's basically, they're running tests on her to see, you know, what's the effect of her Zerg control, you know, and trying to understand the Zerg more as a whole. And, you know, push comes to shove, Valerian Minx, who is the main villain, not Valerian, his father, Arcturus Minx, who is actually the villain of multiple StarCraft games, makes his move. Alright, my bad. So Valerian Minx decides to, I mean, not Valerian, I just made the same mistake twice. Arcturus Minx decides to make his move, because remember, Kerrigan is still a very wanted person at this point. She's one of the most wanted people in the galaxy, being the Queen of Blades, constantly sending her Zerg to kill off the Terrans, and basically screwing up stuff for everybody. And obviously Jim doesn't want that to happen. And, you know, some events take place. Kerrigan becomes separated from her allies, and so she decides that it's then up to her, because she still has some of her psionic powers from when she was a ghost, to try to do her best to reassimilate all the different Zerg factions back underneath the swarm and take out her revenge against Arcturus Minx. So now the story itself, I have to say, and I'm messing with my mic. The story itself is very good. I like it a lot. The story, like with all Blizzard games, the story is very engrossing. You definitely want to sit through the full campaign until it's finished. It's very interesting, you know, and just when Blizzard does this stuff, they've been doing this for like 10 or 15 years at this point. When they make a campaign like this, it's like Warcraft 3 is actually probably the major turning point. Like, I love that game, you know, just the story and everything about it, and they've been following this formula for their RTSs since. You know, just looking at it, it's just beautiful. Like, the cutscenes are very well done, especially, and I'm going to basically interject my graphics here. Even if you don't have the best of computers, which is another thing I love about Blizzard, they make it so that all their games, no matter what graphical settings you're running, the really pre-rendered, well-done cutscenes always look astounding. And I'm not a big graphics guy. In fact, graphics, out of all the different things I could review a game on, graphics are almost actually always on the bottom, because I don't care about graphics. I don't care how something looks that much, as opposed to how well it plays. Okay, so just getting graphics out the way, even if you have a low-end computer, you're still good, because this game looks amazing regardless. Obviously, if you have an amazing high-end Alienware, freaking water-cooled, fingerprint, you know, freaking biochemistry reading computer, it's gonna look amazing regardless. But I mean, like, hey, I enjoy it regardless of what the graphical settings are. Graphics don't have to be amazing, so I played it on low for the except for 3D portraits, because I never turn those off. That's where I draw the line, and it looks fine. Okay, moving on. The soundtrack is very good. I like the different, like, again, the Zerg soundtrack is very good, although they did have some definitely different sounds I weren't expecting. For the most part, it was still very good. That's really all I have to say about that. Now, moving on, the gameplay. How does the gameplay play? Well, obviously, since Starcraft 2 has been out for a while, if you've ever played as Zerg, you already know what the gameplay is like. But just, you know, in general, the gameplay, it plays very well. Now, they do have some annoyances, some features that they did have in Warcraft 3 that I enjoyed, you know, I really wish they would have brought back, because it's kind of annoying to have to plan around it. That's just, you know, more brain power you have to devote to that. One such example is the speed setting you could put on your army in Warcraft 3, where what would happen is you know, obviously not all units in a real-time strategy game move at the same speed. So what Warcraft 3 did is they had a setting that basically said, okay, if you have an army, you know, of multiple units that are of different speeds, set everyone's speed to the slowest unit, so everyone moves at that speed, so no one's really out of position. And, you know, and of course, I don't know why they didn't bring that back, but it's just, you know, it feels to me like that would be a really, you know, good thing to bring back, at least for story mode, okay? At least for the single player, you could bring that back, okay? I don't, you know, just to make it easier on some of the new people who, you know, might not be too great at micromanaging units, and, you know, macro is for economy. And, you know, just to make it easier on them, because that's just something for story mode. It's just something that at least should be in story mode. Maybe multiplayer, you know, okay, you gotta be, you know, you think a little bit more on your toes about this kind of stuff. But it is kind of annoying when you have some of your units rushing forward that are, you know, not, you know, obviously the slower units are, you know, your offense, your main line of defense, and, you know, or offense as it would be, and you don't want your weak units, which should be behind them, rushing in forward and gaining all the attention, and then you lose too many of them. That's not exactly in your favor. Another thing that also kind of is like whatever, or, you know, why did they do this, is they also, in the story mode, they don't teach you about hold and stop, okay? And these are two functions that units do, and also patrol, but no one ever uses patrol, I don't think. Basically, what hold, stop, and patrol are, they're commands, movement commands that you can issue to your units, okay? Stop, whenever you have units selected, okay? If you press the S button, or, you know, well, you don't type stop, but if you press S, what happens is literally, as you know, the command suggests, your units will stop moving, or stop whatever they're doing and wait for a new command. They'll stop moving, they'll stop attacking, they'll stop doing whatever. Stop mining, whatever. They'll just stand there. They don't really teach you about that. And also another command that you can give your units is hold, or H. And when you press that, units will still attack, but what they'll do is they won't move until given another order, or a movement order, what should it be. So you can use that to like choke off points if you want units to just sit there and wait. You don't want them to necessarily chase, you know, enemy units that might retreat and like might pull your units away. Now they might not have this in multiplayer, but again, in story mode, which is what I'm reviewing here, they don't have stuff like that. That, you know, if you teach someone about that, could potentially make them better for multiplayer. The only other one is patrol, which is basically a command you give. Literally, again, as the command suggests, you tell a unit to walk in basically a straight line back and forth between 2 points and literally patrol it and engage any enemies that they encounter on the way. Now, no one really uses patrol. I've never seen someone use it. It's just kind of that thing that they put in just in case, and I think the hotkey is P for that. But what they do tell you now is that they do say, okay, well, let's say you have a unit that attacks, okay? They say, you know, use right click to move it once you have it selected, and then press the A button and, you know, left click to send it to an attack position. And, you know, they tell you that, they show you that actually in the space where they used to show patrol, hold, stop, and all that. And, you know, it's okay that, you know, you have that for a little bit, but, like, you know, after a certain point, you know, just to make it easier on some of these other new players, you know, I mean, then again, who's new in Starcraft 2 anymore, but I'm just, you know, giving an example. Like, if just cuz, you know, it's kind of like in World of Warcraft where they always gave you tutorials about stuff. Like, yeah, they gave you tutorials in Starcraft, but, like, not that much, all right? But it's all still good. This game is just, you know, I'm nitpicking here. I'm trying to do this in the best interest of people who are not that great at RTSs, because I've seen a lot of people who had no real clue what they were doing on Warcraft 3, and, you know, it kind of pains me, you know, that, because, again, I got very into Warcraft 3 during the time I did play it, and I tried to make people better. You know, during a game, I would, like, kind of say, okay, well, you were doing great, and then, you know, you could have done this, and, you know, stuff like that. That could have maybe been different. Most people leave, of course. They think I'm mocking them. I'm like, no, I'm trying to help you out. But regardless of that, what do we have here for StarCraft 2? Because I'm going to keep this review short because I'm not sure I'm going to fit video onto this. What do we have for StarCraft 2? We have an interesting game, very good campaign. It's the sequel to a very, very good campaign. Wings of Liberty definitely was very, very enjoyable, except for the technological problems that I had recording it. It was a very, very fun campaign to play. I enjoyed it very much. I like the open-endedness of it. I enjoyed, you know, just the general concept of it was so unique and so fresh that I really don't have anything bad to say about it, you know what I mean? So it's very hard for me to find stuff to nitpick with it, and that puts me in a very awkward position for Heart of the Swarm, and just in general, because, again, I don't know what exactly to nitpick on, you know, besides a couple of small minor gripes, you know? They have a pretty solid campaign experience. So, alright, sorry. So ultimately, what would I give StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm? Well, in order for me to give my review on Heart of the Swarm, I'd have to also basically give my review on Wings of Liberty, okay? Now, for Wings of Liberty, you had finally, after 12 years, the sequel to a very, very, very well-loved game. And what about the campaign of that? Wings of Liberty had a miniature Protoss campaign in addition to the main Terran campaign. It had open-endedness. There's reasons to go back and replay some of the missions. You know, you have different, like, basically each mission, there's, like, so many different, like, arcs in the game. You know, there's the arc with the colonists struggling to relocate against the Zerg, trying to fight back against that. There's finding the artifacts. There's, you know, what was it? Finding all this unique stuff for you know, you just side with different people that determines their fate. You know, and it's just so unique and so much to do on it and so many reasons to replay it on, you know, higher difficulties and everything, that I would give Wings of Liberty a 95 out of 100 because it's just so much stuff to do. And, you know, among the other massive amount of stuff that you can do in StarCraft 2. And, you know, just, you know, when I come to Heart of the Swarm, it's kind of the same thing, but again, it has a Zerg twist to it. So you have all these interesting, unique characters you're going to interact with. You're going to see people from StarCraft 1 who I had no clue who it was, but, you know, I guess if you've been a big StarCraft buff, you're finally going to see him. You're probably like, wow, you know, this guy, I haven't seen this guy in like 10, 12 years, you know, his story's going to continue alongside mine. And you have all these interesting, you know, different missions. There's evolution missions for some of your units. There's, you know, just learning how to play Zerg is a lot of fun. I have to say, it's a lot of micromanagement. You don't really have to worry about micromanaging too much. But it's unique. It's definitely a good experience. So what would I give StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm? I would give StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm a 94 out of 100. Just a point shy of Wings of Liberty. But at the same time, you know, it's still a very unique, good experience. Now, there is a mini Terran campaign, but it is a lot smaller than what the mini Protoss campaign was in Wings of Liberty. In fact, it's only one level, and it's basically hero-based. And if you don't know what I mean by hero-based, it's, you know, during Warcraft and Starcraft storylines, there's some characters that are unique, and they're considered heroes because they're, you know, main story characters. And that's really what they intended the emphasis of Heart of the Swarm to be. Wings of Liberty was more of just, you know, a standard RTS game, standard RTS story. Heart of the Swarm, on the other hand, is more based around Kerrigan and, you know, leveling her up and you know, changing her powers around. And I like it. It plays very nice. And the characters are definitely unique. And I really, again, there's very little stuff I have to say about it. But, you know, trying to help out new players get into the game and stuff, that's just a little bit, you know, that's probably what maybe 3/5 of that point is. You know, just shave off a little bit. Now, there could have been more missions, you know, but for what there is and what story you know, the story of that, what led up to it, what happens in the game, and, you know, just what's going to happen in Legacy of the Void, which is the next expansion pack, there's a lot of potential, and there's a lot of good stuff. There has been a lot of good stuff, still good here, and I expect it to be, you know, maybe even better next time around. So, that's all I have to say for StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. I enjoyed it very much. Really fun game to play. I hope you guys, you know, check it out because it's only $40 if you have Wings of Liberty, and if not, I think they even reduced the price down to $60. So there's a lot of stuff you can get for this game, and you don't even need that high of a computer to, you know, play it normally. So I'm Spraynpray1000. I have a lot of other games to dive into, so I'm not gonna, you know, sit too long in this one. But thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time on something else. So I enjoyed playing Heart of the Swarm. You know, take care.